Hello everybody and welcome to Adobe Live. We're coming to you live here from the land of the Dharawal people. Very excited to be joined today by our very special guest and maybe soon to be Australian citizen, James Barnard. Hello, James.
Hello, sir. We were just talking off camera that I did my Australian citizenship test yesterday. So that's quite interesting. You did an acknowledgement of country at the start. I didn't know there was a difference between welcome to country and an acknowledgement.
I did an acknowledgement of the people of the land in which we're in. We've done acknowledgements a lot before.
That was one of my questions on the test yesterday. Who was allowed to do an acknowledgement of country? And that's anybody.
Yeah.
But if it's a welcome to country, it's only Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander peoples that can do that. So I've just been learning all the facts this week. I passed. I got 100%. The questions were easy in the test. But yeah, fingers crossed. I get my application ticked and I go to the ceremony and wave my flag and sing.
You get to have a little Australian flag.
Yeah, I think so. If not, I'll just take one. I'll buy one and take one.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. Well, congratulations on that. That's the hardest bit. I've done that test before and failed. So congratulations. Well done, mate. Hello to everyone in chat. We're live on YouTube. We're live on Behance as well. Hello. And Erin, so stoked for this, and unsolicited advice. Hey, Barnard. So yeah, if you've got questions as we're going, this is going to be pretty rapid fire. We've got James for 50 minutes and that is it. So we're going to, basically, I'm going to get out of the way and like hand over to James here. But if you do have questions as we're going, James has said it's okay to take a couple of questions as we go, but we're going to move pretty quick, I think. So should I shut up and hand over to you, James?
Yeah, pipe down. Let's go.
That's hard.
So, right, look at this artboard. This is all the stuff we've got to cover today. There's all sorts of stuff. I've basically made sure that we've got at least 50 minutes of material in here. If we don't cover it, just drop me a message and I'll try and explain the end
make it up
if I missed them off. Yeah. All right. So I've tried to sort of organize these tips and tricks into some semblance of an order. We've got workflow boosters, we've got color and appearance, we've got tools and effects deep dive, creative advice, what's new and worth knowing, and if there's time at the end, some Q&A. There won't be time at the end, so ask as we go because it's going to go quick. All right, first tip: shift page up and page down, cycles through your artboards. There you go. This is some of my work. If you haven't seen my work before, I am a logo designer / design educator. I'm based on the Gold Coast, Australia, but I'm from the UK, hence the citizenship test. I married an Australian, got here the easy way, but my kids are Australians and British. They don't know they're born dual citizens. So it's super easy for them. But I design logos here on the Gold Coast for clients all over the world. This is what my home office looks like. We have 2 monitors attached to my MacBook on the left there, sort of hovering in place. So basically the center screen is like prime real estate for me to be working. So here's your first tip. If you have a second monitor, stick all your tools and panels over to the right-hand monitor so that you've got a massive giant artboard on one big monitor right in front of you. And basically screen real estate is important. The smaller the screen real estate, the more you have to be panning and zooming around. So if you have a nice big artboard, you saved problems straight away. Now with Workspaces, I have my own one here. So if you go to Window Workspace, I've got 2. One called JB MacBook Pro 14-inch 2 screens, and whenever I click on this, it resets, it changes my workspace to basically this layout that you see in this picture. So if I ever need to access anything, you can't see it on your screen, but I'm dragging my mouse over to the right, and I can bring panels over and navigate the panel. I can just drag these over in place, and if I ever need to use those sort of really quickly, I can just bring them right next to where I'm working. But I have a keyboard shortcut set up, which is Command / boop, and that pops those back in place. You can't see, but my second screen is lovely, neat and organized. It looks just like this here.
Nice.
So things that I use all the time, I've just arranged them really neatly and sort of OCD to an arrangement that I know and love. So if you ever want to do that, you just go to Window Workspace, and then whatever your current setup is set up as, you just do New Workspace, give it a name, save it. Now I've set up the keyboard shortcut, which is Reset Current Workspace. So if you ever want to change any keyboard shortcuts, Edit, Keyboard Shortcuts, and then you just find the panel from your menu commands here. So the workspace is under Window, so we just twirl open window, and then down here you'll see, if you go to workspace, scroll down, reset current workspace, and I've set command / for that. So that's first tip, number one, is basically get your workspace in order so you can work quickly. Obviously, the properties panel is your best friend right now. It's over here on my screen because the properties panel kind of defaults to everything that you need as you're working. If you select things, it will change. So it's a very neat way of getting access to quick tools. So whenever I'm working on my laptop, window, workspace, JB MacBook only, that'll basically just be the properties panel and a few little extras, things that I use all the time.
It's cool.
All right, command / to set that back. Now you'll see I've got a few little fancy tools here. I've got my Logitech MX Keys keyboard, my Logitech MX Master 3S mouse, and my Creator Micro by Work Louder. So the mouse is like, tip number one, if you can afford it, get this mouse because it has a zoom button on the right-hand side. If I just pan in and out, I can zoom with that button there. It's so handy. It's got undo and redo buttons, so I don't even have to reach down to my keyboard, Command Z. I can just press those little buttons as well. And also the scroll wheel is, I find that really handy. Just be able to click and pan on the scroll wheel, having to press my mouse. Really decent. Okay, so let's go through shift page down to my next artboard. So one thing to note about working quickly is being able to grab stuff, make stuff bigger. Okay, so if we go to our settings, Illustrator settings, selection and anchor display up here, the first thing I do whenever I'm working on a new machine is to drag up the size of these anchor points and the anchor styles here. So it defaults to this, okay, which is tiny. And if you're trying to grab stuff, you miss it all the time. It's so annoying. I can't select anything. Illustrator settings, selection and anchor display, crank that bad boy right up. And I changed the handle style as well, just to make it a bit more obvious, this white style there. And bang, immediately those handles are huge and I don't have to worry about missing them. It's just basically nice and good for my failing eyesight. I'm going to need glasses soon, but
yeah. And if you're thinking that's a silly thing to do, just wait. Just wait.
Yeah, wait until you get a few grays in your beard.
It'll happen to you.
Shift and page down.
Yeah.
Okay, default graphic styles. This is another great one. Every time you draw out a new shape in Adobe Illustrator, what does it do? It defaults to a white shape with a 1 pixel stroke, which is really annoying. I never use that. I always end up having to go to the stroke and turn that off. And by the way, you can do that, press X over here. If you flip left and right, in fact, I've got my fancy new zoom tool now. I can do this. Can you see that? Oh, that's not gonna work.
No, I don't think we saw it on our side.
Yeah, press X to flip the selection between your stroke and your background, and then press / to turn that off. That's a quick way to do it. The even quicker way is just to set that by default. For me, my default graphic styles are, if I draw out a shape and make it whatever I want it to be by default, so let's say a square with a dark background. If I bring up my window and graphic styles panel, which is obviously not where it should be because I have it on my own panel over here. 1 second. I've lost it.
I love that. You've shown the enlarging the anchor points before, and I just did it live on mine because I always forget to do it. I always think that's a great idea.
Yeah. Brilliant. You can follow along. Let's go. Okay, so select your shape in your graphic styles panel, create a new graphic style. Now holding down Alt or Option, we're going to drag that over the default one like that. Now every time we draw out a new shape, it will be in our default style. You can do all sorts of defaults within Illustrator. The trouble is that they tend to save. They don't save per document, which is kind of annoying. So if you open up a new document later on using one of the default presets within Illustrator, it's going to reset back. Now there's a few ways to change this. You can create a file and then drag it over each one of these presets on your hard drive, but if Illustrator updates, it might get overwritten. So what I like to do is work from an AIT file. So if I have a document that I use all the time, let's say for one of my clients, bring up my drive here, and we'll go to one of my default client logo ideas. That's an .8it file. And all of my defaults are already set within here, including things like default typefaces. And all I have to do is I have to do File, Save As, and then change this as from Illustrator to an AIT file. Okay, I want to put this in source files, and we'll just call this template. Now, every time you work from this template file, it will mean that you are using those templates like defaults that you've already set up.
Right.
So I'll double click on this to open it. Now, if I just press Command Save to save it, it goes automatic. I've already saved this one, but if you go, if you want to save it, it'll automatically change to an AI file in future. I'll show you how that works. Let me just close this again. Double click the template file like that. Now press Command S to save. It automatically defaults to AI. So you're never going to overwrite your template file. It's going to you can just keep it somewhere like your desktop. And every time you start a new project, just start from this file, and everything, all that hard work you've done changing your defaults and your keyboard shortcuts and your templates will be saved in this document, and you can work from that going forward. And you'll see this one with my logo projects. I have things like to remind me to get the old client logo. So that when I'm doing a case study, I can put the old one in there and don't forget to get it before they change it. Things like brand nouns, competitor logos, reference imagery, tester typefaces. Here's a good tip. If you have a logo project, you can go and test your logo type out on all of these different standard stock typefaces. You've seen this one before, haven't you, Flynn?
I love this trick.
Edit, find and replace, type in your type here. Let's go Flyn's logo, and we go find and replace all, and immediately I can see what that looks like in all these different typefaces. I can get an idea for how it's looking, and I can also obviously change those to caps to see if there's any good typefaces in there. So that's a pretty good one. All right, let's go back to keyboard shortcuts. So there's loads and loads of different things in Illustrator that are not shortcuts by default. Things like expand. So let's say I've got this shape here, which is a pink fill and a yellow stroke on the outside. If I want to change that to a vector, I have to go up to Object, Expand Appearance, or Expand. Now, I do this all the time, something that I do so much that to have to go up to a drop-down menu all the time to do this is a nightmare. Now, if I'm just going to flick my camera to my lovely little device here, hopefully you can see that. Now, this device is called the Creator Micro by Work Louder, and I have a bunch of keyboard shortcuts set up to this device here. So one of those is Expand Appearance. So if I go to Edit, Keyboard Shortcuts, and from the menu commands here, I'll go to Object, and let's find Expand. I have a keyboard shortcut for that, and I've set up my Creator Micro here to, whenever I click this button, it'll execute that shortcut. So let's just do that right now. Expand. So if I press Command Y, you'll see that that's being converted into a vector. Unfortunately, I had something else selected while I did that. Let's just get rid of this. Also, I have loads of other little bits and pieces that I've automatically set on here. Another one is Reflect. So Object, Transform, Reflect. I do that all the time. Reflect horizontal. So if I just tap this button, whoop, flip that over. I also do Reflect and Copy a lot. So that's this one here, Reflect and Copy. Really handy. And I also have my Pathfinder tools here, because annoyingly, Pathfinder tools there's no keyboard shortcut for these. So things like minus front, all these ones here, exclude, those aren't actually, you can't, there's no keyboard shortcut for these. So unfortunately what you have to do, and because you can't access these from any drop-down menu, what you need to do is create an action for those. So if I go to Window Actions.
That's funny, isn't it? It's such a commonly used thing, right? Like
you think, that there would be a keyboard shortcut for those. So you'll see in my actions, I have my custom ones here. So to make a new action, all I need to do is go to New, and let's say we want to make one called Unite, which is just the first one. Press that, and it's going to start recording. Sorry, I should have selected something before I did that. Let's just select this. Stop that, we'll do it again. Unite, and then record. Now I just click on Unite. Boop. You see down here, Go in Pathfinder, press stop. Now this Unite action is now kind of like a keyboard shortcut for Unite. So if I go onto action options up here, I can add in a custom keyboard shortcut, so something like F1 plus Shift and Command. Then I can assign that to my Create a Micro over here. So we've got one for Unite. So if I just tap this, whoop, got another one for minus front, whoop, intersect, and exclude. That's really handy.
Nice.
Just using actions to record things that I do all the time in Adobe Illustrator. I can now map these to this pad here, and I don't even have to use a shortcut. I can just tap this little button. The other ones I have, just for interest's sake, I have this one, which is Fit Artboard to Selected Art. So if I select something, tap this button, changes my artboard, and that's great for exporting logos. If I ever want to export different things at different sizes, or if I ever want to just export what I've got selected, just tap that button, it shrinks it down. I've also got export selection here, so if I click this, it will bring up my export panel, and I can just immediately add like PNG versions of this, SVG versions. That's really handy. So yeah.
Hey, that's awesome. Just before we move on, before we move too far, the previous one that you showed, there was a quick question from Erin. Why would you choose to expand versus outline stroke? So I think when we were looking at the E that you showed, the expand, the question was
outline stroke.
Yeah.
The actual command.
Yep, that was the question.
Good question. I don't think there's too much difference. There's sometimes if you want to like shave off, let's just tap this here. Nah, it's not working. I mean, to be honest, you could do either. I mean, expand for me is just immediately turning what I've got into outlined vectors. So it's great for logo designs. If I ever have a logo with a stroke on it, I click expand. I know when I export that stroke's not going to change dimensions whenever I send this to a printer or a supplier. Sorry, Erin, I don't know if I actually answered your question there, but we've got no time, so ask me later. Okay, template mode versus layer targeting. Now, this is quite a handy thing. If you are a designer that likes to trace over your sketches, so sometimes I'll do this. If I have a rough idea for a design, I'll go in here and I'll use the pen tool and I'll start tracing over the top. Little bit annoying because it's quite heavy. I've actually already dragged these two pictures here to my background layer. So if you want to ever drag stuff from different layers, you just select what you want. You see this little red icon here? You can drag that up to different layers and it'll automatically move that to your different layers. Now, layer options have all sorts in there. So if I click on this layer and I twirl open the little hamburger menu here and go options, we've got this lovely feature called template. If I tap that, I can then dim my image to 20. What that does is that automatically locks and dims that background layer. I'm not clicking on it. I'm not it's never going to move. It's a really handy sort of quick way of working. But as you've seen, the trouble is with that, as soon as you start drawing, your fill goes over the top and now you can't see your sketch anymore. And now to change this to outline and then change it back, it's a pain. So instead of, I'm just going to turn this template mode off. So instead of template mode, we could do something called layer targeting, which basically assigns parameters to everything inside that layer. So my artwork here, this sketch, is on the artwork layer, and my image is on the background layer. So selecting my artwork layer, if you look closely, there's this little circle icon next to artwork. I don't know if you've ever noticed that before. If I click on that, and then I bring up my transparency panel, I can assign everything in that artwork layer with a blend mode. So if I just zoom back out again, change the blend mode to multiply, everything that's inside the artwork layer now has the multiply blend mode assigned to it, which means I can draw on top of my design here and add features to it without changing the proportions, without having to change the blend mode for every single new object that I draw.
Yeah.
So everything inside the artwork layer now has that. So that's layer targeting. Pretty handy feature if you're somebody that likes to sketch within Illustrator. I'm just going to change that back to normal. Illustrators
as well who create vector art. Like that's quite a cool tip.
Sure.
Yeah.
Now, moving on from our pumpkin sketch, selections. Okay, I've got this jumbled mess of different colored pumpkins. Some of them have smiley faces, some of them have sad faces. Let's say I want to grab all of the purple. Move this one to the back before I forget. Let's say I want to grab all of the purple pumpkins. Okay, so there's a few ways I could do that. I could go to select same fill color. So I'm just going to select a purple one, select same fill color, and that'll grab all of my purple ones. That's pretty handy. We could do a global edit. So if I wanted to grab all of the purple pumpkins, I could select one of these, and I could do select start. Oh, why is that not working? Grab this, select start global edit, and you see it's automatically selected all the purple ones that are similar. And if I rotate them, they'll all rotate at the same time. That's one way you could do it. Unfortunately, there's no select option for sad-faced pumpkins. So if you'll see some of these pumpkins are in different colors. There's a sad-faced pumpkin in yellow. There's a sad-faced pumpkin in purple and in orange. I could grab them all and group them. So let's say I could group all of my sad-faced pumpkins together. The trouble is, if I group them, the order changes. It brings them to the front. Command G, and that's not always ideal, especially when we've got lots of different designs. There's a sad-faced pumpkin right at the back. If I group them all together, it's going to bring them all to the front, and that's not ideal. So what we can do instead is use a selection save. Now, this selecting all the sad faces, there's no easy way to do this. I can try and do start global edit. It might work, actually. It has grabbed them all. It's pretty amazing. If it didn't work, and if you want to say grab these as groups, so let's say you had that as a grouped object and that as a grouped object, and you want to select just the sad faces from them, you first go through, do your boring manual selection, go through, tedious, it's really time consuming. It's a pain in the butt. I only ever want to do that once. And instead, I can go with that selection, I can go to select, and then I can do save selection. Now, I've already done this with sad faces. Check this out. Boop. Great, didn't work, did it? Oh, I've undone all my hard work by undoing it, Flynn.
Oh, because of your little demo there when you undid.
Because of my little demo, I messed it up. All right, let's do a quick one. I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 sad faces.
Right.
Select, save selection, sad faces. I'm gonna call this sad faces 2.
Sad faces
I've already got
2.
one.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I never want to do that again. Select sad faces 2. There we go. Brilliant. And then another thing I could do now I've got those selected is go to Object, Transform Each, and I can change the rotation of those to turn that sad face upside down for every single instance of that pumpkin.
That one on the left.
Yeah, whoops. There we go. We're all good. All right, that's selections. Okay,
that's cool.
We're going quickly now. Let's go down to, yes, this is for all my InDesign users in the house. InDesign has a lovely keyboard shortcut called W, and every time you press W in InDesign, it cuts off the edges of your page, so anything that's outside of the artboard or outside off the edge of your page won't get seen. Illustrator actually has that keyboard shortcut. It's called Trim View. So we go to View, Trim View. Oops, same thing happens, which is brilliant. And I've assigned that to keyboard shortcut W. So my InDesign users in the house, Edit, keyboard shortcuts, and then under your menu commands, View, Trim View, change that to W. I can't remember what W defaults to in Illustrator, but it's nothing important because obviously I'm not using it.
And you use that so much that you've got it set as a keyboard shortcut. Do you actually find that you use that so often, like quite a lot?
I like to, I do all the time. I like to work in Artboards in Illustrator. Handy tip as well, if you're not someone who likes to be constrained to Artboards, if you go to, I think it's user interface under settings, so Illustrator settings, user interface, you can change your background color to white. So if you're not, you don't like to be constrained to Artboards, you just want to use the whole pasteboard, you can do that. But I like Artboards. I think that they're neat because I like the keyboard shortcuts to be able to move around them. Things like shift page up and page down. I like Command 1 for 100%. I like Command 0 to show artboard. I like shift page down to cycle through my artboards. Helps me move really, really quickly.
And you have shortcuts to center things in the middle of the artboard and stuff like that.
I do. That's another one of my buttons on my macro pad. Let's say I have, let me change my camera again to my macro pad. Let's say I have something that I want centered to screen. I just tap this little button, boop, boop, and that brings that to directly to the center of the artboard. So that's something I do all the time, especially when I'm making badges like this, when I want things to be centered around a certain point. It's very handy to be able to tap that button and bring things back to where they were before. So that's another thing you can do with an action, because obviously with actions, with aligning, you've got horizontal and center, which is 2 buttons. So I don't have to press 2 buttons to align that. I want to, boop, boop, I want horizontal and align. So if you go to my actions panel, window actions, and just drag this over. Center to artboard, alignment horizontal, alignment vertical, and then Shift Command F9 is the keyboard shortcut that does that. And I've just assigned that keyboard shortcut to this button, and it does it automatically.
Very cool.
All right. So we're working on a logo design badge here. I don't like the position of this bear's arm, so I'm going to zoom in and I'm going to press E on my keyboard here, and I'm just going to put the rotation point of that over to here, and then when I rotate, I can move his arm like this. That's brilliant. Now I'm going to zoom out to see how that looks across the overarching design. Not quite for me, so I'm going to zoom back in again. Terrible way to work. Okay, we're zooming in and out of our artwork, trying to look at the global sort of like overarching scene. So I have to zoom in to change details, zoom back out, zoom in, zoom out. It's a pain in the butt. So instead, we can do this. We can do window, new window. I'm just going to close this one down because we don't need this anymore. And then we can do window, arrange, tile. Okay, now I can keep my right-hand side view on screen. And on my left-hand side, I'm going to zoom in to my artwork, do the same thing, move my position over here, and then I'm going to move my arm. Watch the right screen.
Yeah, pretty cool.
So it's moving with it. Okay, so I can work on really, really small detail while keeping the design that I'm working on zoomed out and at the level of zoom that I want on the right-hand side. Bit annoying that you can see the blue borders. So on the right-hand screen, I'm just going to press Command H to hide those, so that now when I'm working, you can actually see without. And the little bear.
Oh, the bear's just waving at us. Yeah.
Hello.
Hello.
All right. Pretty good one. Okay.
Nice.
Moving on. Shift page down. All right. Eyedropper tool tips. The eyedropper, the enigma of Adobe Illustrator and all Adobe packages. It works differently across all the different pieces of software. It's different for Premiere Pro. It's different for Photoshop.
Got to keep you on your toes.
Illustrator.
Got to keep you on your
Pain in
toes.
the butt. Okay. This is for Illustrator only. It's so powerful. It's absolutely ludicrous. One of the best features of the eyedropper tool is this. If you press I, great little shortcut there. I'm going to tap to sample a color from my photograph. Now holding down Option, I'm going to paste that onto an object. So I can really quickly tap, Option, paste, tap, Option, paste, tap, Option, paste, tap, Option, paste. That's a really fast way of like sampling and dragging stuff to objects. So I can create color palettes and swatches really, really easily from this. Tip number 1, done. If I don't like any of these and I want to sample something off screen, so let's say you see the background color on my monitor or one of these app icons here. If I have my eyedropper tool selected and I click and I hold and drag, and I drag outside of Illustrator to the little Spotify icon there, I can grab the color of Spotify directly from outside of Illustrator. And that works for Google Chrome. It works for any other piece of software. Something I find quite annoying is, say I'm working on a document, a library with a logo file, and I just want to quickly sample that color. If I have my eyedropper tool over here and I drag it over, you'll see it changes to a selection.
Right.
You might not want that. So I can click and hold and drag, and now it's just going to sample anything, even the color of the background here. It can sample a little color from one of these little images. It's really handy. So click and drag is one of the best eyedropper tool shortcuts. Next one, I always get confused with this. It's really, really confusing. Okay, so with my shape selected here, if I press the eyedropper tool and I just sample this, zoom it in here a little bit. If I sample this shape here, it's going to automatically match the exact parameters of that shape. So it's going to make it tiny stroke, same background, same fill color. Okay, this is how this works generally. I'm going to undo that. Now, if you're someone who likes to sample colors, but you never, ever, ever want to sample the stroke color as well as the fill color, you can double click on the eyedropper tool and you can turn off sampling the stroke. So, oops, if I now just want the fill color only, click on this, it'll only bring the fill color. It'll never change my stroke ever, ever again. That's really handy. Just switching that back on. There's another way to do it though. If you, for instance, say I want the pink fill color, sorry, the pink stroke color to be my fill over here, whatever's in front here, you see on this little foreground, background, whatever's in front. So I've got my foreground in the front. If I hold down Shift and I click on the pink, it'll sample that as my fill color. So if I then switch those two, the pink and the purple there, by pressing X to bring my stroke to the front, holding down Shift, I can make the green the stroke color. So this is quite a handy way to work. Whatever's on top, if you click on Shift, it will automatically assign that to whatever's on top in the foreground color. So if I want to change this pink here to this orange at the top here, but not change the stroke, hold down Shift, does the same thing. Shift, Shift, and that'll never change the stroke color as well. So that's a good little handy tip for the eyedropper tool. Now, if I want to sample colors from a photograph, and let's say this photograph here has a lovely kind of color palette to it, but it has some weird little murky colors going on in between. So if I click and drag, I might get like a pretty horrible looking range of colors just by sampling from this. I'll just use my not really indicative of how that photo is looking. Like I'm trying my best to sample from these brighter colors, but you're going to get missed sometimes. It's got a little bit of cloud here. I'm getting a bit of a dark shade. It's not really good. If I select my image and we go to Object, and I can't forget how to do this now. Create Object Mosaic, and I'm going to change the number of tiles to like 4x4. That's a pretty good one. What this is going to do is going to create an average of those colors and assign them to different values across this 4x4
pretty cool.
grid. Now I've got a much better representation of the colors that I want, and I can grab the ones that are actually worthwhile from this image. That's pretty handy. Object.
That's really handy. Yeah, I've definitely been there. I've definitely been there before. Mosaic.
Yeah.
Because you can just be off by a slight pixel, but you can't tell. We can't see individual pixels. That's great. Cool trick. I like it.
Okay, so taking that color palette or something similar, over here we've got a bit of a new feature within Illustrator, which is assigning that to a gradient. So if I bring up my swatches panel, window, swatches, I'm just going to twirl this down. Okay, first thing I need to do is I'm going to select all of these colors. I'm going to add a new swatch group. Let's just call this Sunset from that photograph we had before. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this object here. With that group selected, we have a new feature called Create. Where has it gone? Create Gradient. And that's a new way of making a gradient within, with sample colors, rather than having to do it the old-fashioned way, which is to like click and drag and select. So if we were to do this the old-fashioned way, we would have to go sample, boop, slide this somewhere along, sample, doot, and that's a bit of a slower way of working. Now, if those colors are in the wrong order for you in the swatches panel here, I can just reorder those. So I can drag to move them. Let's say I want them in this direction instead. And then we zoom back out. Do this with this selected. Do the same thing. Create gradient, and it just changes the order.
Are you holding down Shift to select the shape and then also the group?
No. So all I have to do is that group has already been assigned as a swatch group. So I just have to click one object. So let's say if I wanted to apply it to this circle. Yeah. Just select the group. Twirl that open, create gradient.
Cool.
It just applies it to whatever's selected.
Nice.
And then you can change that gradient type to like radial, or I think you can do a freeform one as well. Oh, sorry, I didn't have it selected. Yeah, pretty handy.
Nice.
All right, Command / to get back to my workspace. Shift page down to my next artboard. Okay, I'm just gonna lock my background here. All right, so I've got a star here, and these anchor points are not lining up. And with my smart guide selected, I can line them all up. That's pretty handy. That's the old-fashioned way to do it. Flynn, we've got a lovely, cool way to do this. We could do with the direct selection tool. Grab these anchor points. We're going to go to Object, Path, Average, horizontal and vertical, both. Whoop, brings those together. We could also use the Align tools, if you didn't know, on anchor points. So we're going to align them in the middle like that, and then middle like that. No, that didn't work.
Brilliant.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I like the first way.
Yeah, let's just leave it. Oh, I've just completely messed it up now. I don't know what I did wrong there. Align. Oh, that's working. Maybe I just had a different line selected. Align tools. Bring those together. There we go. All right, I messed that up completely. Brilliant. Let's move on. All right,
You did it so well the first time, man. It looked awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
really cool.
smashing this out of the park, aren't I? All right, Envelope Distort is one of the most amazing features of Adobe Illustrator. It is so powerful, no one ever uses it. So if we go Object, Make with Mask, where is that? Sorry, Object, Envelope Distort, Make with Warp. We have a few different options. We've got our stylized defaults here. We could do arc lower, change the values of these. That's pretty cool. Object, Envelope Distort, Make with Mesh. And we can do things like add nodes in here. And with our direct selection tool selected, we can nudge these up and create these cool little contoured effects here. This is pretty nice. You can also do this with live type as well. So you can create these wicked effects. Amazing. Weird, wonderful contoured effects. I'm just going to undo all of this. The final one is if I select this and then select this object here, I'm just going to make sure this is on the top by pressing Shift Command right square bracket, select these both, Object, Envelope, Distort, Make with top object. Right, and we can bring this down. Now with my direct selection tool, I can grab this and create these cool wavy effects with my envelope. The beauty of this is that this is not destructive to this shape. So if at any point I ever want to change something like the color of this shape, I can double click in and edit that actual shape. I already had it. I didn't press undo enough times. So it's got my mesh still there. But yeah, I can go in and change the values of this because it's applying these effects to the envelope, not the object.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty handy one.
That's cool. It's like a filter over the top of the original object, so it remembers it. Yeah.
That's it.
That's cool.
All right, let's go to my one second. Let's go to my brushes panel here. Window, brushes. We're going to bring this up. If I make this pencil here a new brush, I'm going to select the pencil at the bottom, click on plus. I want to make this a new art brush. Press OK, and then OK. Now I can select this stroke here and add this art brush. But the trouble is, stretched it. It's horrible. It was a nice idea, but hasn't quite worked. It's gone a bit wonky. So if I double click on this brush and we change the option here to stretch between guides, and we bring the guide in from the left just to protect the eraser portion of that design, and bring the guide in from the right to protect kind of the tip. If I press OK, it should ask me to apply this to anything that's already existing. And look at that.
Oh, wow.
And now we've got like a brush version of this design that we can manipulate, move. And if we want to get really clever, we can use our old pal Object, Intertwine. Oh, it's already been done. Oh, where's that working? Object, Intertwine, Make. We'll release it first and then we'll do it again. Intertwine, Make. And now I can tap on portions of this to send some of them behind the design in the middle there. How cool is that?
Really cool.
And that's
yeah,
it's intertwined
great.
pencil with our design.
There was
Cool.
a quick question on the previous one before the pencil. If you do it with type, do you create outlines first or just as is?
No, you don't have to.
Good question.
So if I take this, for instance, envelope distort, this type here, got object, envelope distort, make with mesh, and I apply my same nodes, I can then wobble my type weirdly, and you don't have to create outlines. And now if I double click in, I can change the type, and it'll keep the effect where it was.
Cool.
Yeah, pretty handy.
Nice.
Okay, this is a great one. I didn't know this until embarrassingly long in my career. If I want to try and recreate this basketball up the top here, so I'm just going to grab my brush tool, start drawing. Oh, we've still got our pencil selected. I'm just going to sample my little thing here, start drawing. Let's bring my brushes up. Still got my
Pencil doesn't want to go away. That was a
doesn't
great
wanna go
question,
away.
by the way, before unsolicited advice. Thank you very much for that. The type question.
Oh, this is great. Why will this not select? Uniform. Just forcing me to do my pencil.
I'm going to clip this for sure. This pencil
Yeah,
won't go away.
delete that brush just to make sure this doesn't happen again.
That's amazing.
Brush. We're on our artwork. What is going on? Why will this not work? Brush, point, draw. Great. What have I done wrong here, Flynn? We might have to move on from this one. Brush. Why is it locked? Artwork's not blocked. Please don't.
You hid background a while ago. Did that apply to everything? Like, is it something like that?
This is on here. No, it should be working. If I press B. Don't know why this isn't working. Great, I might have to restart Illustrator. I'm not going to do that. We'll save that one for another time.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go. Move on. Appearance panel magic. All right, the appearance panel is an enigma of Illustrator. Again, so much you can do with it. If I wanted to create, let's say like an inset border, I could copy the shape like this and bring it in. Oops. And then try and like match my corner options like this, and I can like make like a, bring the stroke down. That's pretty cool. Trouble is, if I want to change the size of the shape, it gets weird, funky. It's not, and then I have to keep changing the values of the corner radius each time I do it. It get all weird and pinched. Not the way to work. Okay, so if I have my appearance panel selected, I'm going to add a, already done it. I'm going to add a new stroke, and then this one underneath, I'm going to do effects, path, offset path. I'm going to create a negative value of this. Just using my cursors, I can bring this down. And let's change this to round, and then I can bring the value of that stroke down as well. So this is a much better way to work because it applies to the shape as a whole. It's not getting pinched. I've changed my corner radius. That is applied with it. Nice way to work. Also with my graphic styles panel, if I take this shape and I add a new graphic style like so, I can now apply this to anything else. So if I have another shape like that, I just tap on that graphic style and it gets applied to other shapes as well.
Nice. That's really cool. I didn't know you could kind of copy that over like that. Very cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, this one is a bit confusing. Okay, so let's say I have a call to action here. The type is outside of our design, so I can stretch it. If I want another one, I'll have to click it down. And now each time I'm having to change the width of this, and it's kind of arbitrary. I'm kind of eyeballing it. Not really a great way to work. I'm going to bring my appearance panel back up again. We're going to go to, I'm going to just duplicate this up here. I'm going to add a new fill. And then underneath here, I'm going to drag this underneath my character. That fill, I'm just going to give that this kind of green that's sort of similar to the other one. And then we're going to go to our effects panel on that fill. I think it's path. What is it again? Effects. Sorry, it's so hard for me to remember. Effects, convert to shape, rounded rectangle. There we go. bump up the corner radius to get that rounded look. And we can add a bit of extra padding on each side, like so. It's a nice way to work. Now, when I change my type inside here, it's going to apply automatically, so it's live. Really cool. So every time I create a new call to action style, nice, efficient way to work. Appearance panel magic again.
Really, really cool.
This, okay, I don't know if I'm going to do this one, Flynn. It's so complicated.
Okay, because I'm going to give you a 4-minute warning as well. So if you got other stuff and it takes a long time and you want to move on, then that's.
Should we try it?
Go for it. Yeah,
it's unbelievably complicated, but it's such a cool way to add this kind of grainy style in an editable way that makes it easy for you to tweak later on. Let's give it a go.
Okay, good luck.
Thanks.
Fingers crossed.
Copy the object that you want to add grain to. Copy. And we're going to press Command F to paste that in place. So there's another basically version on top of here. On that top layer, we're going to make this darker. So this is the color of our grain. So I'm just going to make that a little bit darker, like so. Okay. We're going to go to our transparency panel, window, transparency. With that top layer selected, we're going to click Make Mask. I'm going to uncheck Clip, and I'm going to select the mask on the right-hand side. Stay with me. Now, with the Shape tool, I'm going to draw a rectangle over the top of this to create a mask of that top dark layer. And now we're going to bring up our gradient panel from before. I want to make a black and white gradient of that. So what's happening is the black and white gradient is allowing the light portions of the gradient to show through and the dark portions of the gradient to hide. So it's showing through the dark layer, hiding the white layer. Now, with that selected, we're going to go to Effect, Texture, Grain. We're going to change this to stippled. Oh, it's already on it. Pretty good. I'm just going to change the intensity to try and like make a clear distinction between the black and the white.
Right.
That's pretty good. Okay. Pressing OK. Starting to work. Now, this is our grain effect, but we can use the gradient tool to change it. So if I press G with the gradient tool, I can now start applying this effect to the design. I'm going to invert it. And then I can move it around.
Of course, inverting it. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh. And I can move that whole gradient to the edge. Or like so, give it a bit of a shadowed effect. And that's a awesome. Lovely way of like just applying it and making it editable. Because before you would have to create something like a clipping mask, bring a brush style in, like a spray effect and paint that in. And if you ever wanted to move it, you'd have to erase it manually. Pretty laborious.
I mean, it looks like it's done in Photoshop. That's probably how I would approach that. If someone asked me how to remake that, I'd say I'd probably need to make it in Photoshop and then bring it in.
Switch application if you don't need to.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's such a cool way of applying texture, and you can put these kind of cool effects on the right hand side with that as well.
We might need to wrap actually, so we don't run out of time. So we can.
Wow,
so we
get loads left to do. All right, one more quick one. All
right. We might get cut off, but let's go.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. Okay, we won't. I don't want to get cut off.
Okay. So thank you very much. There's so many more to go. I know you're so excited because you want to show more. You've got all this stuff. It's so great. Chat, you've been fantastic as well. Like lots of kind of comments about like some of this like mind-blown stuff. But also, yeah, the appearance panel. I'm the same. I just can't get out of the habit. I know I need to use it so much more. James demonstrated it here a lot today, which was really, really cool to see.
It's an enigma. It's so powerful.
Yeah.
Just crack it open and start playing with it. It's fantastic.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much, James. We'll have to go so we don't get cut off. Guys, stick around. In 10 minutes, we're going to be back in Photoshop with Ramesh Hari Krishnasamy. Also going to be showing us some amazing tips and tricks and things like that. So please stay tuned. Thank you, everybody in chat. And thank you, James.
Cheers, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.